All right. I'd like to call the Town of Rochester Town Board October 23rd, 2025 workshop meeting to order. You could all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Tonight we have Deputy Town Clerk Jessica Boughton filling in as our clerk. Jessica, could you do the roll call?
I sure can. Councilman Coleman.
Here.
Councilwoman Smeeseth.
Here.
Councilman Nguyen.
Here.
Supervisor Inouye.
Here.
And absent is Councilwoman.
Okay. So our first item on the agenda is the acceptance of the agenda. I wanted to, before I do this resolution, because I have a few mods, wanted to ask the board where you want to have our budget discussion, because I thought I was going to have a department joining us tonight for the first hour, but I never heard back from that department. So I don't have a department joining us. I had put a budget discussion of the board discussion of non-department budget items at the end of the agenda. So I just wanted to see if you guys want to have that discussion at the beginning or if you want to have it at the end. At the end? Yeah. Okay, so that means we will go straight into public comment after this resolution. Okay. So I'll make I'd like to make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board accepts the agenda with the following amendments. We will delete the department budget discussion. We will move the acceptance of the abstract until the end of the meeting, and we will add an audit of the bills. I didn't have two members sign up. We will move the appointment of the planning and zoning secretary till after the executive session. We'll add a general fund budget modification. And to the discussion items, we're adding a tax cap override, local law, and the KFAS contract discussion, 2026 KFAS contract discussion. And then our executive session will be adding matters leading to the appointment of particular persons. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Huh?
And litigation.
It's on there. Oh, the litigation is with M&T Advanced Building Solutions.
I know we said it's the KFAS contract, but it's really just a contract.
Oh, the ambulance improvement district contracts. Okay.
Oh, we have Marbletown too, equal
Well, it's same,
in general.
it's the same contract.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Okay, so we are moving straight into public comment tonight. So this is the portion of the meeting where we allow the members of the public to address the board directly. We do not use this as a question and answer session or as a form of debate. However, if there are questions that are posed during this time, sometimes town board members will choose to answer or address things in the next agenda item, which is town board member time. What I do is I ask anyone who's physically present if they would like to address the board first, and then we move on to anyone that has joined on Zoom to give them a chance. We start with in-person first, and then we go to that. So with that, I'll open the public comment portion of their meeting. Is there anyone here who would like to address the board? Okay. Do we have anyone who has joined on Zoom that would like to address the board? iPad 3. I guess so.
Yes, I do have one question.
Okay, sure.
I haven't been coming to the meetings, shame on me, I should come to the meetings. Obviously, the town is still assessment on everybody's homes right now, am I correct? And that's shame on me, because I should have known this. But the question I have is, they're doing it by drone, right? Or I should say, whatever they do, they're not coming to your home, they're just doing it over a site, right?
I can answer your questions later if you just,
Okay, but the thing I have is my house is growing in size and I haven't done nothing to it. So my wife wrote a letter back to them and I don't know if they look into it or whatever, but my house is growing and growing and growing. I got proof that it's a certain size. I think they should be coming to measure and doing the job that they should be doing. That's just my opinion. But that's all I gotta say.
okay. Is there anyone else that wants to address the board tonight during public comment? Okay, so we'll go ahead and close the public comment portion of the meeting then. I can some of the assessment questions. We are doing a townwide reevaluation. So that means every single property is getting verified. The first step of the process was we did have cars that came through town and did some imaging. There are some satellite tools that are being used to look, but a property survey was sent out in the mail to get any, it indicated what data the assessor's office has on the parcel. And property owners could, if there were corrections, mail those in.
Right.
Any visits, the assessor can't just come and do a visit, so we can't do that to every parcel, but there will be an opportunity to have everything checked and verified. And if you give that permission to have that, that will happen. So the whole goal of this is to have the most accurate assessment data for the entire town so that we're all on an even footing and all paying our fair share of taxes. So that it's a long process that isn't completed yet, but there will be that opportunity. So I know that there's been a lot going on and we're actually working on some public information pages to help explain that even though we are doing the reval, the whole idea of it is that everyone's going to be brought up to the equalization rate all at the same time. So the only people that will be impacted by a change in assessed value will be ones that have a value to their property that is not currently being considered, or their property is overvalued and the way that will be assessed will be a reduction. But otherwise, most properties they'll all go up to closer to the market rate than what they're at now, because we're at 53% of the equalization rate. So did any other board members have anything you wanted to say during town board member time?
So what you're saying is just because your assessed value goes up doesn't automatically mean taxes go up. If everybody's assessed value goes up 10%, then there will be no change in taxes.
Correct.
The equalization rate has to do with taxes that are being paid by multiple towns. So we don't want Marbletown people paying less towards Rondout than people in Rochester, and vice versa. They don't want Rochester people paying more the Rondout school district than they are. So equalization makes sure that the towns are on an even footing as well.
Right. Also, the state does not want us to have a 53% equalization rate. So, but so many changes have happened over the past 5 years that we're not the only town that has seen that. If you're in a normal year, when we're not doing a townwide reevaluation, if you get reassessed, or if you built an addition to your home or did a major improvement to your home, your assessed value would go up. And in that case, it would potentially change. You would have a higher value of your home that you were paying taxes on. But when it's a townwide reval, if you haven't had any improvements or done anything, you're just gonna be brought up to closer to market value. Like everyone else, so.
But up to market value, doesn't that bring everybody up to pay more though?
Nope. But,
Don't you think the market values are higher than they were 5 years ago?
no, that's not how it works, but
Oh.
we're done,
Okay,
So as an example, so some people, yes, their market value has gone up because they've done renovations on their house, they've got new enough so that they've had to have a new
but what I
COO
mean by
issued.
market value.
can't do a
is
back and
because
forth
all the
on it.
prices have gone up
We
on-
can't have a back and forth, sir, it's town board member time, so we can't both speak back and forth any longer according to the rules of the meetings we have to follow, but. So if someone has a house that's been recently reevaluated, and it is, yes, market values are higher than say when my parents bought their house in 98 in town. When they bought their first house and didn't rent anymore. They're definitely much higher, even my house, now the evaluation has doubled in the past 5 years. But that being said. I am paying my fair share of taxes because my valuation has changed in the past 5 years. There's some parcels or properties in town that are paying taxes for an 1850s farmhouse. That are beautiful $1.5 million mansions inside that have not been updated on the tax roll, so they're not paying their fair share. So yes, my market value might go up. Or would theoretically stay somewhat similar because mine hasn't changed, mine's been redone in the past 5 years already. But someone who hasn't and is still paying the taxes on an 1800s house. They're not paying their fair share, theirs are going to go up to the proper valuation of that home. From this reeval, if that makes sense, so it kind of balances out where. It doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's taxes are gonna go up. Some people, that person who has the 1850s townhouse that has not been reevaluated in. Almost 300 years, they are gonna have a heavy load and a heavy change in their taxes from their property evaluation, but me, who's been reevaluated. From construction in the past 5 years, I'm not gonna see as huge of a change from this process. If that makes sense.
the biggest way it's gonna impact is their tax rate per 1,000 of value is gonna go way down, basically. So you'll just be paying half the amount per 1,000, but double the amount because the property value has gone up. So it doesn't change the tax levy, it just changes the total assessed value for the town. We will be getting more information out, and I think it would be great to have some question and answer sessions around this, because I know that mailing, now everyone's really aware, and I know it's complicated, it's hard to wrap. You know, we do this all the time, so we can wrap our heads around it, but it's a lot for members of the public to understand, because there's a lot of financial and valuation bits. Okay, did any other topics from the board during this time? Okay, so let's move on to resolutions. There is a stack of backup in front of the board that starts with this kind of blank piece of paper that has a chart on the top. Those are the budget modifications for the highway fund. I'm gonna read them though, because I did not include them in the public folder for the public to view. So I'll make a motion that the town board approves the budget modifications to the highway fund budget as presented to cover tool purchases and truck repair costs. So we're moving 15,000 from 5130.465 maintenance of road parts to 5130.467 maintenance of roads repairs. Then we're moving 2,000 from 5130.440 maintenance of roads professional services to 5130.419 maintenance of roads tools. And then we're moving $3,400 from 5140.465 brush and weeds parts to 9060.8 employee benefits other.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. I wanted to add maybe another budget mod. I was gonna ask the board permission for this first, though, before I make the resolution. We have $3,000 in town board equipment for computers. We, I think there were some ideas floating around for which ones to get and how to purchase them. I have it in the budget for next year. I was gonna ask if we could move that to the supervisor equipment line so that I can purchase desks for my office. I just wanted to see if you guys were okay with that. We'll be zeroing that out, but then we would be purchasing them next year. Okay, so I'll make a motion that the Town of Rochester Town Board approves the following budget modification to the general fund budget to subtract $3,000 from 1010.2 Town Board Equipment and move that to 1220.2 Supervisor Equipment.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. Okay, so we only had one board member audit the vouchers, so we gotta finish those up at the end of the meeting. So we're moving that resolution. We're moving the resolution of the appointment of the clerk till after the executive session. So now we're at D, appointment of a highway HMEO. So I'll make the motion that at the request of the highway superintendent, the town board recognizes the appointment of Jacob Demarest to the position of HMEO driver at the rate of $29.21 per hour for 40 hours per week, effective November 3rd, 2025. And be it further resolved, this appointment shall be subject to all terms and conditions of employment as established by the town of Rochester and applicable law.
Second.
Any discussion? That's the collective bargaining agreement wage for that position. All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstain, motion carries. So next, behind the stack of, the next piece of backup behind those budget mods is the local law that Councilman Coleman drafted. Do you feel like this is the complete enough to schedule the public hearing?
Yeah, we read it last time and everyone agreed, right? We said it was good. So.
Okay. I do not remember what we're up to. I'm gonna see what letter we're up to. It looks like E. So we're gonna call this local law E. Okay, when would we like to have this public hearing? The 13th?
Sure.
All right, do you want to make that motion, Michael?
You want to make it to keep it easy? And then I'll second.
No?
All right, I'll make a motion to schedule a public hearing for local law E of 2025. Town of Rochester Town Board schedules a public hearing for Town of Rochester Town Board schedules a public hearing for local law E of 2025, amending chapter 38 for the Code of Rochester Planning and Zoning Board alternate on November 13th at 6:30 at the Harold Lipton Community Center, 15 Tobacco Road, Akron, New York, and request the town clerk circulate notice.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Next up, after that is the Pro Housing Communities Model Resolution. So. Charlotte,
Yeah,
do you wanna?
yeah, I just need to write in the actual words, because I'm too dyslexic to read that
Okay,
with swearing and stuff on.
all right, so I'll let you. Goes on to the back of the page too, just stuff like this.
Okay, is it just town of Rochester for all the blanks?
The town board,
It's accepted, yeah, the first one, was town of Rochester town board.
yeah,
Okay, yeah. Okay,
so the first part is just for the minute, so you start at the whereas.
okay. I make a motion that. The town of whereas the town of Rochester believes that the lack of housing of New York residents of all ages and income levels negatively impacts the future of New York State's economic growth and community well-being. Whereas the housing crisis has negative effects at regional and local levels, we believe that every community must do their part to contribute to the housing growth and benefit from the positive impacts a healthy housing market brings to communities. Whereas we believe that supporting housing production of all kinds in our community will bring multiple benefits, including increasing housing access and choices for the current and future residents, providing integrated, accessible housing options that meet the needs of people with sensory and mobility disabilities, bringing economic opportunities and vitality to our communities and allowing workers at all levels to improve their quality of life through living closer to their employment opportunities. Whereas we believe that evidence showing that infill development that reduces sprawl and supports walkable communities has significant environmental and public health benefits. And whereas we believe that affirmatively furthering fair housing and reducing segregation is not only required by law, but is essential for keeping our community strong and vibrant. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the town of Rochester, in order to take positive steps to alleviate the housing housing crisis, adopts the Pro-Housing Communities Pledge, which will have us endeavor to take the following important steps. One, streamlining permitting for multifamily housing, affordable housing, accessible housing, accessory dwelling units, and supportive housing. Two, adopting policies that affirmatively further fair housing. Three, incorporate regional housing needs into planning decisions. Four, increasing development capacity for residential uses. Five, enacting policies that encourage the broad range of housing development, including multifamily, affordable housing, accessible housing, accessory dwelling units, and supportive housing.
Second.
Any discussion?
Thank you.
Yeah. This is to be pro-housing certified. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, next up, the next item, Councilwoman Alba had asked me to add and was gonna provide more, but I didn't get that, so sorry, I forgot about that, so we'll table that, thank you. So the next is the bond for Meadow Lakes subdivision that I had circulated to the board and it's posted publicly. So, I don't have the edit from Mary Lou in my packet. Can you see that? Just the.
Oh, the one I had?
Yeah, thank you. All right, so I'm gonna make a motion that the town board accepts the performance bond as presented with the following amendment that on page 2, paragraph 3, which lists NYSGE, that be replaced with Central Hudson Gas and Electric. Yeah, that's it. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
The only thing I noticed is it says doing the trenching, conduit, and wire. And the quote from the vendor didn't include wire, so we're probably covered, but I just want to make sure people are aware that that's not included. It might be included, but it just says the trenching, conduit, backfill. So I don't know how long the runs are.
Can you point to the section in the agreement that you're talking about?
So in recitals, under 1.2, it says identified street improvements. Oh. So, no, comments about that. Installation of subgrade electrical cable along the primary shared driveways and planting of new trees along those driveways collectively be improvements. So it's saying the subgrade electrical cable, and then if you go down to page, is it 4? The quote that they use is just trenching and backfill for electrical service, conduit and junction boxes, consistent with the standards and requirements. So they may have included the wire as part of that, but I'm not
It
sure.
says excluded right on, outside between all the electrical, work.
Well, that's probably the connection.
That's what, yeah. It could be.
I think it's fine. I just. If we're assuming they're doing the runs. We have a 25% pad on it.
Yeah, I think it's still okay because we're still gonna hold that bond until everything's done.
Yeah, okay.
Cable's probably provided by the electric company, but they're laying the conduit. Right?
I don't know. I don't know how.
Okay,
I think it's fine.
all right,
I just want to call it out.
okay, well, I feel comfortable,
I'm doing it.
so I'll call the vote. I guess you guys called the vote, not me. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Oh, abstain? So Win abstains. Motion carries.
You say recuse instead of abstain, is that different?
Huh?
I would say recuse instead of abstain.
Well, you would have had to recuse yourself ahead. To recuse yourself.
Then I abstain.
Oh. So now we are on to discussion items. The discussion items might not be in order. I did this very quickly.
Drop the insurance, the life insurance.
It's part of the budget discussion. I wanted that to be part of the budget discussion. So it's in the back. Okay, so the Speedway race date, so every year. Those are the third back, the piece of paper that has a long list of dates. So every year. In our racetrack law, there's an application that gets filled out. And the list of dates is submitted. We do like to adopt this, or kind of as soon as possible, but I wanted the board to have a chance to look at it, ask any questions, and we can vote on this on November 6th. If you'd like.
It's 40 is the number of days in the law, correct?
Yes, yeah, this, I checked everything and it all complies with our
It
law.
was all the right numbers, thank you, Mary Lou.
Yes,
So then. Yeah, basically the rain dates are set. And then in the season and practice, rain dates and practice dates, and then in the season.
You have Friday, July 31st, and then Saturday, August 2nd. Those dates don't work.
It's supposed to be August 1st.
Yeah, this is part of their application.
We're not voting.
well, we can correct
We're not
it.
voting tonight, yeah, so we can, okay, so that is one.
The first.
Well, Sunday, so we have to ask about that.
So there are 12 days that they're racing on 2 consecutive, 12 weekends where they're racing on 2 consecutive days, is that typical?
Yes. Is that in the law that there's only a certain number? that
There, yeah, they numbers of times that they can race is in there, days they can race, but this is okay. This complies.
Does the board, you guys have any questions? Did you want to take time to review those dates and then we can adopt it on the sixth?
Yeah, I think adoption is fine, so that we can also ask them to send us. The new schedule with the
Yeah.
right, office with clarity on that office date.
So if you have any more of those, could just send them to me or Kate, actually, and then we'll try to make sure we have a final list. Then there's also the application that we included there. Okay. Very good with that. Next up, franchise agreement. I did not print that out because we've been talking about a lot and I thought that this was your item, because you said that you wanted to work on it and put it on this agenda.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wanna sign a 10-year agreement, they're basically. Not conceding anything, this is the Spectrum franchise agreement. The 10-year contract basically gives them authorization. To operate in our town. Previous agreement included several streets where they were committing to expand the network on those streets. They also agreed to do a certain amount of expansion at the board's request. We asked to have that included this time, and they pushed back and said they're not gonna agree to that. We also asked if they would give us a report. I think we said. Of the last 6 years of where they actually had expanded the network, how many new homes they were connecting to. Those are the two things that they pushed back on. Everything else seemed fine. So I sent the note back and said, I think it's a little. Unreasonable to expect that we're gonna sign a 10-year contract with you. Without giving us some kind of guarantee that you're going to work to expand the network and not charge the town for that, because we paid. A not insignificant. We paid a significant amount of money to expand on the road.
Right.
Last year, and it was earmarked for expansion of broadband, but. I think. Given the fact that their prices continue to go up, given the fact that they have an effective monopoly. I think it's appropriate that they would give some kind of concession this time. So we'll see what they come back with.
So every other contract.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why it was okay. Well, that might have been prior to them having consolidated. So we'll see what they say.
Yeah. Well, they're bluff, my favorite with the softball and everything. Well, we're a company that
I mean, we know there are people that don't have access to Spectrum. So I think it would be nice if we had some ability to do that. And I've seen some of the numbers that they quote people. When they want to get connected.
You don't think?
It can be like as high as $80,000, which is a thing for a homeowner to pay.
So we're going to continue to let Councilman Coleman negotiate on this contract to see if we can get those points worked out. And everybody is comfortable with that,
Yes.
right? Just Councilman Coleman has been doing a lot of work. Thank you so much. There's like 3 more discussion items that you have been the main person working on, so I just want to thank you for that. And I didn't want my tone earlier when I was introducing this to sound like I wasn't appreciative, so thank you. The community center project part 2, Charlotte, do you have any updates for us on that?
Slightly, so for the next meeting, I should be able to come to you guys, I'll be coming with. Hopefully a purchase, request for new basketball hoops for out back now that the, surfacing is redone, so that portion of the project doesn't get held up waiting. On a playground install and the removal of the one existing structure. So I should hopefully have that by the next meeting for you guys to have on the agenda as a, or as a bill. I think it probably will be under procurement where we have to vote on it. Hopefully, if not, I'll
it's-
get us 3 quotes and it'll go on the agenda. I'll let Aaron know next.
Yeah,
week.
once we know how much it's gonna be, I can tell you. But
Yes.
we should be able to just order that and then it would just
Yes,
be
yeah,
a
yeah,
voucher.
that's what I was thinking, and not just turning into a voucher on an agenda item, but an agenda item that may come up. I'm meeting again with Ashley and Bethany, and I've secured 3 quotes from 3 different companies for the actual playground equipment to be installed out back. So we're kind of working with those 3 different vendors to narrow it down, just get exactly what we want for the final quote, with the type of substrate we want, if we wanted the wood fibers or the rubber, with mulch, the recycled tire mulch. What have you, those types of things, actual wood, metal, what's it called, the plastic one, that they recycle things into,
Correct.
Trex, yes, yeah, or Trex, that type of situation, so we're working on that, and I'm hoping that we'll have narrowed down which one. The rec department and the rec commission would like to see go in back there, so I can let you know their recommendation and bring those 3 quotes to you guys as well, the final ones, so. I'm hoping to have that at the next meeting, if not, I should have it at the one following.
Okay,
So that we can have it ordered at the very least by the end of the year and make sure that we use that. I'm a use it or lose it type of gal.
yeah,
Gotta use.
well, and that's ARPA money, so it'd be good.
Yes, and it would be very nice to get exactly too, since it's the tail end of our ARPA, even though it was. We had to appropriate it, so we had to spend it before.
Yeah.
Since next year's, right,
Mm-hmm,
yes, since next year's the demo. And. That, and I've also started to identify a couple different grants, we're not spending the full allotment that we used for this year, I will say that of the project, of the full 60,000 that we had put in the budget. We're looking to keep it under 40,000 with the install and things back there. So that we can use that other 20,000 as seed money for a matching grant that I've identified for next year, that another community recently got. So, like this past year, so that we can expand the project even more, hopefully by next fall. That's all, folks.
great. Okay, so thank you for making forward progress on that. Michael, the next item is the ambulance improvement district letter. You've been working on this project. We were approached by the Marbletown first aid unit and Cohongson first aid squad to see if we could switch some of the parcels so that the dispatches, so that the first dispatch was switched. Because there are these areas that they might, that takes one longer than the other, but that's not how the dispatch is working. And you have been on this maze trying to figure out how to change it. So if you want to let the board know again what you've discovered and then what you've included in this, the letter. The letter that we have in front of us also has the parcel attachment. So there's a map, and then on the back are the SBL numbers that correspond to that. Though it might be good to have it color coded or something.
I was brushing.
Yes, okay, sorry.
Yeah, so. I guess. Ulster County EMS has a system called CAD. CAD is what determines when a call comes in from a particular address or parcel, who gets dispatched. So both squads agreed that they wanted to make a swap, and they thought that was the town that did that. It's actually the county that does that, but when I spoke to the county, they said that the town actually has to sign off on that request. So what they need is either a letter from town board, Marbletown First Aid Unit and KFAS saying that they all agree to the changes, or they need one letter that all 3 organizations sign. So I figured it was easier to do one letter than have everybody write their own letters. Basically, so they both agree to what the changes are. So there are a series of addresses that are on Towpath Road. Includes like the Depot property, for example, that currently Marbletown is dispatched to. And both squads think that KFAS has a better response time to those parcels. So they want those to be moved over so that they get dispatched to KFAS. Kind of similar, and this was this is a weird thing about how the actual lines are drawn. The section of Berm Road in Alligarville, not over here. One side of the road is Marbletown First Aid Unit and the other side is KFAS. So they wanted the KFAS side to be switched to Marbletown First Aid Unit because it's very close to their house. So I talked to the county. They said they could use a list of the actual parcels with SBLs and addresses. But then when I sent the person that updates CAD the map, she told me that's all she really needs. So I sent the map to both squads, both chiefs. And I'm just waiting for them to confirm that they agree with the changes. If they do, then we can sign the letter. We can have all three, Aaron, Tara, and Chuck can sign the letter. We submit to the county and then they update the system. So it should be all the information they need. I heard back from Marbletown already, so I'm just waiting to hear back from KFAS. If KFAS agrees, then circulate this, sign it. Get it updated.
So do we need to authorize to sign it?
It's a good question.
Do you feel like it's right?
Mary Lou, do you think we can authorize and then just wait for final confirmation? Or should we just wait until everyone agrees to it?
Do you think they'll have it in 2 weeks when you have your next meeting?
Yeah, I should be able to get it by then. I think it's fine.
So I'd authorize it at the next meeting.
Okay.
Rather, because if they have changes, then you're gonna have to redo it anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Any questions for Councilman Coleman about that? Okay, so that'll be on our next meeting. So the amendments that we made to discussion items. I am presenting the tax cap override local law to you, which I think is right behind the one. Where did it go? You guys have that one? Do I just not have it? So this would be local law F of 2025. If we're going to override the tax cap, we have to pass a local law. It's a good practice to just schedule the public hearing for this. And I'd like to schedule the public hearing for this on November 6th. And then when we schedule the public hearing for the preliminary budget on Monday, it'll be immediately following this public hearing. So it's very standard. This is just taken right out of the law, and this is what we pass. We basically pass this every year, but it's for fiscal year 2026. So we could schedule the public hearing tonight if you guys want, and then we've just got it done. I've put it, it's available publicly. I have it in the link that I have on the agenda to.
I make a motion to the Times Rochester Town Board schedule a public hearing for local law Act of 2025, a law titled overriding the tax cap, on
Thursday, November 6th.
Thursday, November 6th at 6:30 p.m. at the Harold Lippman Community Center. 15 Tobacco Road, Accord, New York, 12404, and request that the town clerk circulate notice.
Instead of 6:30, do you want that to say immediately following the public hearing for local law E?
I absolutely.
We didn't,
Well,
schedule that for a different day.
So 13.
Oh, I thought they were both the 6th.
No, I did it on a different day on purpose.
The other one's the 13th. My apologies. Charlotte, what a perfect resolution.
Thank you so much, Mary.
All right. Do I have a second on that? Any discussion?
4 years makes best.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, motion carries. Okay, thank you. Getting through it. Then next up. Councilman Coleman again. You have been working already on the contract for the ambulance district service. I know a little bit about this, but you've been working on it more, so do you want to go ahead and let the board in on the process that you're following and what the next steps are? And what
Yeah.
changes you've made?
So. I think everyone's aware that the county has put some funds towards expanding BLS and ALS coverage across the county. So they have a system that's set up with certain criteria, and they have funds that they will disperse directly to the providing agency. So it doesn't route through the towns, it goes directly to the agency, assuming that they meet certain criteria. So one of the things, in discussions with our ambulance advisory committee that came up, was the suggestion that we model our contract with the squads to include a lot of that. And many of these are ideas that have come up already in past discussions, and we've talked about adding them. So if you look at this, I tried to update some dates, but starting with number 9. So 9 is essentially asking for specific financial documents. I actually changed this a lot from, well, not a lot, but I changed it from what the county was asking for. The county asks for Form 990. I did include balance sheet, P&L, and budgets versus actuals. I don't know if we need all that. I think the board can kind of figure out how much detail. I think one key thing that we're looking at is budget versus actual, so we can actually see based off what they're budgeting in the year, because they obviously provide us a budget, how close they're following to that. But just think through that, and I've also presented this to the members of the committee. So if they have any feedback, they can do that as well. The section 11 is really around response times. I don't think this is necessarily as relevant in our case, because both squads have been achieving high response rates. I think this is more geared to areas in the county that are a little underserved. But it's essentially saying, hey, you guys have to sustain a certain response rate, whether it's 95%, 90%. And if you don't, we have the right to not disperse additional funds until you come to compliance. So look through that section. The dates in terms of payments, we'll obviously update that. I just didn't have time to look at a calendar and figure out where this would be. Item 15 is something that people have asked for, which is making sure that the actual funds that are collected from the tax district are kept in a separate account and paid out of that separate account. And then the section below that is what they can actually use the funds for. So this is what the county is more or less saying they can use it for. I don't know if we want to include all of this. So, staffing, improving response time, improving off the floor times. Some of these are a little squishy. So, you could justify a lot in terms of improving response time. If we wanted to say you can use it for staffing, for payroll, you can use it for payments to ALS, capital equipment. So I think we can remove some of these and make it more tailored to, hey, we're collecting money, you can use it for your payroll, we're collecting money, you can use it for equipment or the ambulances. But I wanted to take a look at that. The contracts don't need to be signed until, they wouldn't go into effect until next year. But Ulster County EMS has also offered to work with us to see if we want to include any additional language, or if we can kind of pair our funding off of what they're looking to do. So if we do have any changes and you can get it back to us, planning to circulate this to Ulster County EMS and see if they have any additional feedback, or if we should include anything else. So you can shout them out now if you have changes, or you just hold them and talk about it on the 6th. Yes, it's in it's in the Dropbox until we.
Indemnification should, paragraph 19. It says indemnify the town bonus. Should that also include its officers and employees?
Where are you?
Revised paragraph 19.
Oh, sorry. Mary Lou, this was the indemnification. I know we went back and forth with this.
Yeah, we went back and forth.
I think the town covers officers and,
Yeah, we have that covered in our code, that officers, employees are covered by the town, so.
yeah, sorry, Raleigh. I mean, we've looked at this, but if you see other areas.
So what Mary Lou's saying is that the town indemnifies its employees and officers.
Yes, I mean, we can ask them to
So-
add that in.
Is this subrogation of the indemnification?
I mean, we can ask for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can talk about what language you want there.
The other thing that the county was sort of.
Do-
Oh, go ahead.
Do we also want to add, can we add a waiver of jury trial provision?
Yes, you want to arbitration,
No, bench trial.
bench trial. Mary Lou, do you see any issue with that?
No, it's fine with something like an ambulance squad. You might want a judge deciding it rather than, because he's just going to go based solely on the facts and the law. And sometimes juries can say, wait, these are great people who are providing a service, which is absolutely true, but it could color their judgment.
Okay, do you have language you could put together for that?
Sure.
Anything else?
That's it.
So I feel like the changes that just at the meeting.
Yeah,
But I would. Like to. Number 14, so schedule of payments. You shouldn't redline the top one, that's the accurate one, the bottom one was because of the penalty we gave them from last year's reporting.
oh yeah, this is,
Schedule,
this
so
is
that,
fine as the
that's
other.
gonna, okay, cool. I just wanted to point that out, that it was the top one,
Their,
for payment one, not the for rollover one.
yeah, their request this year was for the same amount as they requested last year. So,
As they requested or as they were given.
as they were doing,
No, as the tax levy.
right,
So so it'd be 194. Not the two.
oh, sorry, not good. Say the same amount as what,
What was,
Was-
what we allotted them in the budget this past year, the same number, not what was on that original request we got
190.
last budget.
It's like 194.
Yeah, right, it was under.
What
200
we're
change.
paying
I
out is
thought-
241, but.
Yes, because of the payment from last.
Right. Some was for 20,
From
24.
24, yeah. Sorry, the numbers. Okay, cool, I just wanted to get that out, And I just wanna look over before I give the yay for sure, and I can message you separately, I guess, Michael, but I wanna look at the allowances for the funds to be used for.
The bulleted section? Or
Yeah, that
the
bulleted
letter
section, or that A through H section. I just wanna see if there's maybe some better language and some grant funding for things. To make it a little bit tighter on those few categories. That you were saying we're trying to smush them all.
Mhm.
But other than that, I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I might limit it to staff wages. payments for ALS. Capital equipment.
Yeah.
We're-
Those last two, I don't know that we need those.
Yeah,
So that list is all the things that the county
right,
It's
has
the-
said they do, but we
Right.
don't have to. We can pare that down.
right.
Yeah, that's what I just want to review that a lot, like how. Punch upon that one, because I do think like station repairs are like justified, they want. Yeah, some certain things, so.
Right. So.
I'll make some edits.
The other thing I was thinking about, and I don't know, the mention of ALS kind of brings it up, that this is a BLS contract. Now, so I think we should think about that a little bit in terms of the county specifically was one of the intents behind the funding that they have is improving ALS services, because that's a huge need that we have, especially where we are. Because we don't have anyone covering us for advanced life support. So that is another thing the county is saying you really need to start preparing for, because that might be an additional expenditure for the town when we start thinking about full ambulance service coverage.
You remember the percentage of calls they said are actually ALS calls?
They said it's 80% dispatch, but it's like 60% when they get there.
Yeah.
But you have to always dispatch.
Because shortness of breath, anything that could be a heart attack and then be a stroke. It's just.
Yeah.
it's ALS.
Nice work, thank you.
Wait, sorry, I'll go back to the financial statement disclosure.
Mhm.
Do we want to, we're not asking for, the amount of, are they required to provide audits and financial statements?
I was gonna ask that too, but I had.
Because the state,
For an
the
audit.
state statutory requirements $2 million. For an independent prepared threshold is 250,000 a year. We're giving them more, almost 250,000. So,
We're not getting that.
sorry,
We're not getting them that much. We're doing
for this year,
194.
okay. But presumably they're not their only approach, so they would get the 250 going. Should we specify both internally prepared and independent for audit? Independent statements prepared by, or statements prepared by an auditing firm, knowing that they might not have their audit within a time frame that is relevant.
You can include anything.
I have questions if we should add their audit, but their 990 is kind of an audit, just not as.
Well, the other, I mean. The thing that concerns me is if we're adding receivables that, if those receivables are. Way past due. It could have an impact on the public cash flow and maybe, the fund balance,
Mhm.
which wouldn't be reflected in the 990.
Oh, I know, I know it wouldn't be reflected in the 990, I just questioned it, asking for an audit, and the 990 was too extreme, because. You get a D for nonprofits, you get a good amount of oversight, 90 when you're doing comparison with their actual. Profit losses, but,
Yeah, I mean,
I'm fine with asking for an audit, whether it's an internal one or a third party. I mean, obviously, third party would be preferred, but if we ask for either, I'm happy.
yeah, the idea here,
What I would normally say is company with our organization or company prepared interims and a year-end statement verifying. For that.
if you want to send me specifically what you're asking
Sure.
for. So, yeah, so the reason behind wanting to know all of this is, as a town, this is obviously an independent agency providing a service, fantastic service that they're providing, saving lives. We also have to plan from a long-term perspective, because this is a very economical way to provide these services. If we have to go to a third party, we had to contract with another agency, the amount taxpayers have to pay could rise significantly. But we may end up in that situation anyway, if we're not, if the squads are not, are burning through fund balance are not able to sustain themselves. So we want to have as much information as possible, work with the squads to make sure that they're going to continue to give providing service. But I just want to highlight, response rates are good.
Yeah.
They're providing all the information that we're asking for, so. Just putting it in the contract.
Okay, thank you. So, that is, was there anything else to be added? Let me see. Good that. No. Okay, so we're at other matters. I'd just like to review what our next agenda is going to look like. So, we're gonna adopt the Speedway race dates. We'll do follow-up with the franchise agreement. We'll have follow-up with the community center project with hopefully some quotes and maybe some ordering can happen before then. Then we'll authorize me to sign the ambulance district letter at that meeting, right? And then we'll have some, if there's more comments on the contract, then we're also gonna have 2 public hearings. And we'll wanna discuss edits that we're gonna wanna make to the preliminary budget that night. We don't have to adopt. We can adopt our budget, hopefully the 13th, so we don't have to schedule any additional meetings. But we'll wanna have that, we'll wanna be prepared that night to discuss anything that we wanna change for the final. We have to adopt our final budget by November 20th.
So the hearing is on the budget and the override.
Yep, yeah, so we'll have to pass that, the override. Before we adopt the final budget, but not before we have it doesn't have to pass. Before that night.
So on the budget override, is that sort of a binary, it's within the budget or it's within the cap or outside of the cap?
Yep.
Or do we have to specify a percentage?
No. And just for the record, just for the record, that law is. I don't think it works in anyone's benefit because it's really strict and. It's actually less than 2%, and I wish that they would look at it again because they just finally made it so that the ambulance improvement district wasn't subject to the tax
Oh, it
cap.
doesn't count.
But when we did it, it was. So we added a whole thing and it was subject to the tax cap when we did it. But just the increases alone that we're seeing in retirement and health insurance, like that alone is that. It doesn't, anyway, I'll get up my low little soapbox. So, our next, agenda item is the budget discussion, unless the board had anything else. We did advertise what's that? Oh,
You guys
sure.
can start with that.
Yeah, you wanna take a 2-minute? Okay, so we're gonna take a little 2-minute break.
Death Valley Field Hockey Irma Hall champ.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yes, the sectionals are next week. Kingston.
Everyone else is doing.
Maybe we should.
You guys here for class?
They don't have to say it all the time, because we don't. Oh,
This is for Erin, but she needs it, if not,
I can hold on, but until next week, I'm gonna stack it. Okay, no. That. Well. Thank you. You're welcome. I like it. I'm gonna do that. Okay, that was.
Well, just look at
Yeah,
it moves.
well, budget,
Two things, yeah.
yeah, well, we should talk about the budget for
Yeah.
a bit, and then you guys gotta. And we have. Huh? I mean, only if you can do it and participate.
No, if I sit in my seat in time, in the session, I wanna be able to look at the site. Yeah.
We were just. Maybe. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're reconvening and we're just saying, I had advertised the public comment portion of the meeting for 7:30. And because it's about 7:30, we thought we would just open that up again since people might have come in late thinking that it was later. So I just wanted to see if there was any members of the public who came in that would like to address the board at this time.
Gary?
Yes?
Everybody know, and bring up 2 points. One of which just came to light with discussing this with a former member of the board today. And that involves what the assessment, the new reassessment sheets that went out, I believe last meeting. I had a trip in between, so I can't remember what date that was, about 2 weeks ago. But this person advised me and I said, yeah, I only had a couple days to respond. And she advised that it really should have been at least 10 days, period, that we should have had to respond to that official notice as to what the assessments are and changes and so forth. She said she only had like 3 days. I said, I had less than that on the trip that I made, and it expired while in fact I was away this past week. So that's something I wish, at least for the future, can't pull back those sheets. But the last time the assessment on at least the sheets I got was 30 years ago. So if we're going to look into something that possibly is 30 years, you can't plan it at least 10, 20 days in advance to give people with the expectation. Not everybody's getting their mail on time. You really ought to look at that. The second item I'd like to bring up, Councilman Pullman had talked about the map on the ambulatory action, so forth. I brought it up to this board previously that map shows, and I don't know of any other town, I'm just concerned, or any other properties in the town, but I can attest that some of my property on Frankel Road is showing, by the way, Frankel Road is not, never has been, in the 52 years I've lived on it, in the town of Marbletown. It is in the town of Rochester, but it shows up on that original map in the town of Marbletown. And in one of my properties, being charged by both Marbletown ambulance and Rochester or Cripple. Yeah, right. And I said, that's unacceptable because I should be paying to the town of Rochester. What the town of Rochester does, as far as the ambulatory payment goes, whatever, that's up to them. But they only pay taxes, well, I was only paying taxes to the school tax for rent out and to the town of Rochester for property taxes. Now, just added with this new assessment, since the ambulatory issue came into play, now I've got 3 entities. It's unacceptable. Needs to be fixed. again, I don't know if there's other ones on that map, but I can tell you, that map shows Frankel Road in Allentown. It is not. Thank you.
Did anyone else want to address the board at this time? Anyone on Zoom wanting to make a comment to the board at this time? Okay. All right, so we will move on to our budget discussion. So Kate,
Yeah,
you didn't think you'd be here, but
Right.
you want to have a
sure. I
budget
don't have that
discussion
thing
for your-
before me, but I think I'll be.
I have your letter. And I can give you this, and I can open up my spreadsheet here.
I'll send you this out. Oh, here, you start back from here.
The letter, I don't have, she has this. So here's. That's just a bigger printout of them. Okay, so we're first gonna start with Kate's departments. And then I have some general, non-department specific things that I want us to decide on tonight. But. So Kate has a few. If in order, does it start with town clerk or records management?
Yeah, let's change. Looks like it's in tax, you know.
Oh, tax collector.
Yeah, we're on page 7.
Okay, page 7 of the blue spreadsheets.
So as far as tax collection goes, it is pretty much mandated expenses that I have. The tax software program is beyond our control. That is a countywide program, and they just implemented a new program this year that we went into. It did have a higher cost than the previous, and we locked in a contract last year with them where when we locked in with them, it actually caused the county to have to pay a larger percentage of it. Otherwise, it would have been $3,000 for us to lock in the following year. So there was a slight increase in the software for that, but like I said, that's kind of out of our control. Same thing with postage. Postage increased this year up 4 cents per piece of mail beyond without us knowing that was going to happen. So there was definitely an increase in postage. How I manage, calculate the postage is I take 4,800 parcels and multiply it by 2, even though we don't send everything out twice. When I add in the banking postage, those are for escrow companies that there are a few that still require it by mail and not by email. That seems to cover that for the year on tax collection.
Sorry, where's the software?
It is below office supplies.
So in this tentative budget, all software in your request, all software was bundled together.
Right.
We can split it back out. I was just actually pulling up your original spreadsheet request that you sent to me.
Right.
So I could,
Believe it's under $200 still, since we locked it in last year in the contract. Can't remember the exact amount. Okay, so it's not in here. The other thing is office supplies. We do have to provide our own envelopes. And our paid stamps, that's for pens. That is what our office supplies are. There's really not too much more in the supply end on tax collection. And I have to put by law a legal notice out once a year. I guesstimate it usually about $100, and it looks like it was like $73 last year. And that's really it on tax collection as far as expenditures go. And of course, revenue, that's always based on the town's tax base, and then whether or not how many people pay penalty and advertising fees, and then we also have bank interest. But that's the only revenue that will come from tax fund.
Why did we budget $2,000?
Because originally, that's what we were told the software was gonna
Oh,
cost
okay.
last year, and then the county ended up covering a
Okay.
large percentage of
Okay.
it if we locked in.
Okay.
Because the program went from $110 to close to 3,000.
Okay. But it's gonna be more like 200.
Yes. I think it was like one. I wanted to say 1.6 or something like that. Can't remember.
Okay. Any questions or comments? Okay. I'm not on the same sheet, but we're now at 1410. Town clerk.
Okay, so as far as town clerk goes, I did request to have, and I put that in the letter to the board. I would like to see the board allow me to hire somebody for the 14-week process of tax collection. That's like our peak tax collection period. I do have one 40-hour-a-week clerk. I have one 15-hour-a-week clerk. And I have one 20-hour-a-week clerk, but that clerk has been solely working on records management. I could always pull that clerk over if we were having a budgetary issue with creating the fourth deputy position. But I really would rather not do that because we have a lot of work to do just in digitizing the records. And that has made things a lot smoother in different departments. The more that we have digitized, the easier the retrieval has been. So I really would prefer to keep that deputy continuing to do those records. So that's why I am asking for a fourth deputy for the first 12 to 14 weeks of the tax season. No more than 20 hours a week. And I don't think it's out of the scope to have that. When I first started in the office myself 20 years ago, there was a clerk and 4 deputies. And that was before we did online payments, credit card payments. We have more parcels now. The workload's much different. I didn't even have email at that time, so the correspondences have changed tremendously in that time frame. And I do feel like we are stretched very thin. And then we always have to allot for it if there's any emergency going on with any one of our staff members. I will be honest, I was out for the first 3 weeks of February this year, which I had a death in my family, which is beyond my control, and I was out of the office. And we really have to also be prepared for that because everything is based on schedules and time, and there's no changing that. So I just think this kind of helps along the way. So that's the big reason why I'm asking for the fourth deputy.
Do you think we
during
could
tax time.
get somebody for that short period?
You know, in the past, we've been able to, get somebody that's retired. A lot of times I can find somebody in accounting that's willing just to come in a little part-time here and there. I would not be against if the town wanted to look into a seasonal employee that could be shared amongst other offices as well. I'm definitely up for that, as well.
Now, when you say during the peak tax time, when do you actually start putting the bills together? Is that?
So we actually start like the last week of December. And I'm fine with that just staying my regular staff, but we start collecting by the 2nd of January.
You're not
It's
asking for like
this
tail
is-
end of 24.
No, this is basically from January to maybe mid-March. The way I see it is I'm right with the staff, doing the work with the staff pretty much all along, but then I have a whole nother job behind that of reconciling everything. And if there's a mistake that sometimes could take a week to 2 weeks to find, the workload doesn't stop. So my hopes are then I will have to be doing as much of the receiving and that end of it. I can stay more behind the scenes and just make sure, yes, because I mean, you have to be as accurate to the penny. And this is $8 million plus that we're collecting on top of the full-time job that we do all year. So
Same rate as the clerk 3?
I put it in that way. I wasn't sure what the board was thinking as far as the pay scale was gonna go this year, so I left it up. So that is the biggest change as far as in the town clerk budget. I did also with that. I did ask for equipment. I would like to buy a desk if possible. One of my deputies only just has a glass top. And I would like her to be able to have a desk. And then as far as the chairs, I do have staff that sits on pillows because we have rips in our chairs. And I think all of our chairs have been hand-me-downs for the last 20+ years, so I would like to see at least 2 of my staff members to be able to get chairs. So those were the 3 things I had in the budget. For equipment.
Maybe we should talk, because we might be able to use that software line, we can move it and maybe order some chairs now
Okay,
too.
I'm fine with that. I mean, I gave Jessica mine because I stand all day, but Chrissy sits on the pillow.
And then that $1,200 might go farther for a desk.
Okay. Okay, I'm fine with that.
What's everything under software?
So everything under software, I have a town clerk program that did go up 3% this year, so that's 1,032 a year. That does all my reports with the state, it does all my licensing, and it also prints out the report that I presented to the town board with financials. I have the DocuWare, which is our records management. I believe that's around it's about 5,000 a year. And I think I did put in for 6 because if we do need to go to additional cloud coverage, that would be an increase. So that's why I think I budgeted for 6. I also have QuickBooks, which is under $200 for all my accounting, and I was doing all my banking by hand still up till mid last year. And thankfully, Aaron got me a QuickBooks account, so that has been extremely helpful. I have bank reconciliation in. This has been at the recommendation of the auditors when we were audited in 2004 to have an outside source audit our records. I think it's worth $2,500 a year to have someone else come in and do that process. Let's see, public notices, again, they're required to do certain public notices a year. And then have education conferences. There is 2 conferences a year that we could go to. We tend to try to go to just one. Mainly that will cover all town clerk and tax collection and registrar. And that is a lot of times a conference that is out of town where you can't commute. If it's anywhere from Saratoga down, we will commute, but anything outside of that, we do stay in a hotel. So that's why it might be, I think we put in $1,000 for that generally.
You're actually, it looks like.
I
you have
actually went
800.
down. Oh, so yes. So with that, next year it's in Albany, and I knew that ahead.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I forgot. Mileage, I stay within $500 a year between mileage between myself and Christina for the most part. I try to do most of the driving, so they don't use the wear and tear. But she did go to Syracuse for a conference this year. Postage, again, I'm never really sure how much postage we're gonna have at any given time. What we send out are marriage licenses, death certificates, dog licenses, handicap permit renewals. Let's see. And if there's any kind of correspondence letter that I can't do through email, but there's not much along in that. I think that's pretty much it on all those. Office supplies again, and that's pens, envelopes. Nothing really major outside of that, but office supplies haven't increased significantly, so. That was about it on that, I think, right? Yes. Records management, so I did ask in the records management for professional services on professional shredding. My goal in the next year is I would like to have the trailer out back here completely empty, one way or another, whether we have to move files. Most records that are in there are inactive records. When I was in there last, I did see some planning board records got placed in there that I do need to get out, but I couldn't lift them myself. So as I stated in the letter, there's 1 of 2 ways we could do that. We could do that through shredding. That's how I do a lot of the records now. You can past practices. They did burn records as long as it's not colored paper. I can still do that as well. Go ahead.
What's the volume of
There's that trailer is full of records and it's
Trailer.
destroyed.
the 20 footer?
It's like 40 feet.
But I wouldn't say all of it is records, and some of it is storage. The rec department has put some of their storage in there. There's a lot of computers that got placed in there at this point too. There's, yes, from the,
Why are they computers there?
I think if they just went, it became, for some reason, it became an inactive storage.
When this,
as
I
well.
think when this building got renovated, it kind of became temporary storage for the rooms as they worked on them, and then things didn't make their way back out of the trailer over the years.
Right, and I don't even
Right,
know where
they're
some of them belong to be honest. I just happen to walk in there and see all these screens and computers, which we can also make, I mean, we can document that when we destroy them, but I would send them to the transfer station to the electronics. We just wanna make sure that the board's been shipped, but I don't even know if people. I have no idea if that was done ahead of time or not. I don't know whose computers are in there.
Well, monitors are fine.
Right, so I guess my recommendation is if we could do a professional shredding, if not, if we can at least invest in a little bit better shredder than what we have. Cause I have a small office shredder that we use, right now we just got done doing a bunch of assessor's office, documents, and we're slowly working on supervisor's documents. But in that trailer is, probably at least 10 years worth of information that can come out.
So
That I know,
volumetrically, how many like bank balances?
about 50.
Was this a quote we got from like Iron Mountain or something? This,
No, because you kind of need to have per page what you're looking for on that, so I went with this base amount, and then once I can pull things out of the trailer, I can get a better idea, and just, I would stay within this. This amount, and then finish the rest ourselves.
yeah,
I do also know the court had also been interested at one time years ago with professional shredding. If that's something we could fit into the same price or not, I'm not sure. But like I said, I am not against also burning the records, if that's obviously a cheaper way, it's just very time consuming. As well. But again, I know the budget is very tight, and if that's not something that can be done within the budget, we will continue just doing it the way we've been doing it. That, so.
How much do you estimate an upgrade shredder would be?
I wouldn't spend more than $3,000 shredder. Well, I mean, the one in my office is probably like a $200 shredder, and it hasn't burned out, but it's a slow process.
Yeah,
that's
And then they stop working.
Right, and it could be a universal one that other departments use as well. We tend to do most of the destruction of the records for all the departments. They send them over and we put it in a deposition schedule and we do the shredding. So it can be a high volume.
Okay. And the shredders cost anywhere from 3,000, industrial shredders from 3,000 to 50,000. So it might, I mean, I don't know, it could be worth looking at getting one that could do really high volume if we spent $10,000 on a shredder. I don't know, would I be willing to think
I
about
can,
that?
Or do
Look more-
you know, get a good, better shredder as a burn
right,
stuff.
right,
You can also just lease shred boxes. Iron Mountain,
okay, I mean, I
drop it
could,
in there and they come back up.
right,
Need a big box.
Or we pay your seasonal
Yeah.
clerk to do it for longer than 14 weeks, so it's at least 15 months to do the like 6 month season.
Mhm.
And we pay someone much cheaper than $10,000.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
down to week, that gives
Right.
us at least a couple months of someone trying.
I would,
Especially.
especially if we're going that route, we definitely need to invest in a better shredder.
Yeah,
Which I
and
can
this
get,
is with an
if you
upgrade.
want, before the proposal is done, I can get some prices on a couple shredders.
This one I'm looking at is $6,400 and it can handle staples
Oh,
and paper clips.
okay.
It holds up to 50 gallons of waste, 22 feet per minute.
How many sheets?
It's 22 feet per minute, so I guess that would be 10 sheets per minute, is that what that is? They're 11 inches. 10 or 12,
10,
like paper length.
oh,
Yeah. Anyway, it might be worth looking into if we, but also I think, iron, having them picked up and shredded for us also probably.
Right. Um. And then as far as, let's see.
I think it's cheaper in the long run if they're got somebody staff there. If, you know, it is. Maybe it's cheaper to.
I mean,
But outsourced.
we can probably get a rough quote from Iron Mountain, floating up on like square footage, tanker boxes. I agree, just it's a whole thing.
Well, for now, I think 10,000 is a good placeholder.
Okay.
Like, I think that, I mean, it sounds,
Is that 10,000?
I was hoping
year, or
for
is it
10,000
5,000?
this year, 10,000 next year, was my goal.
and one thing to be aware of is that this also is kind of a net zero for the overall budget for Kate, because last year we had 10,000 budgeted for another project. So
Yeah, the scanner
Yeah.
and
in a different code, but we don't need that anymore, so.
right. And then the $500 records management supply, that's boxes, and that gets utilized pretty much by the whole building at times. When anyone is loading up boxes and stuff, so that's basically what the supplies and materials are.
Yeah.
And then historian, so the historian is more of like a little fun thing for me. It's just an idea I've had for a couple years that I'd like to see happen. I did state how next year is the 250th anniversary of the Revolutionary War. I would like to see the town do some sort of celebratory event with that. I can funnel that through Friends of Historic Rochester also, if it is something that we would have to ask. I don't even know exactly what kind of celebratory event I was thinking, but I do think it's something as a town as a whole, we should recognize and be a part of one way or another. The other idea I've had is I would like to see signage going down one way of the rail trail and it be strictly town of Rochester historical facts about the D&H Canal, and then coming back be about the O&W root beer, O&W Railroad. I just, whenever I walk the trail, I just think it would be really cool that every couple hundred feet have like a really historical marker in a way of different facts about the town of Rochester. The gentleman who does our sign, that did the signage for me for Veterans Wall, he averaged it to maybe be $200 a sign, so I thought if I could do 2 signs a year and just over the course of the next couple of years get that done. I just think that would be a fun thing for, and it's reasonable. That was something I envision. But again, I also know where we're at and if things are tight. I 100% understand that happened to be asked. And while people are here, we did update the Veterans Wall this year, so we did add more names to it, including Harold Lipton. So if anybody wants to come out on Veterans Day and see the updated honor roll, that'd be great. So that is pretty much it on my expenditures. As far as revenues, almost all of my revenue is state mandated pricing, so I can't change anything as far as licensing goes, genealogy, birth, death, marriage, those are set prices by the state. The only, and same with DC, the only thing that can be changed would be dog licenses, which the board can look at if you want to. I kind of feel like if we go too much higher on dog licenses, you won't be getting people licensing their dogs, because I don't feel like we're getting the numbers as is any longer. Though it's $5 for a spayed neuter dog and $15 for an unspayed or neuter dog. $3 of unspayed has to go to state to the spay neuter fund, and $1. So really, it comes down to 11 goes to the town and 4 goes to the town on licenses. Because we have to pay into a fund by law. That is really it, and the board wanted to increase the pavilion, like the park pavilion. I know that's not my revenue, even though we collect it. I don't know if that's something the board wants to do, but I think it's nice having it just as $50 deposit, $50 use for the park. But it's something you guys can.
I was
Discuss.
thinking we might want to increase it just as the bathroom,
Oh,
because we're gonna have to do cleaning.
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But that's about it on the revenue and the things. For me,
Your revenue's been pretty accurate.
yeah, it stays pretty consistent for the most part. But I just don't see it anywhere where I can really increase too much, because even on the registrar end, it really depends on. How many people pass away in that year? That's not a number you can, we're usually within a range of probably about 30. And same thing with marriage licenses, they kind of go side by side, birth and death and marriage. And we're between like 30 and 35 a year with those, so that's why it's pretty much stayed within the same revenue line. And that's pretty much it on how that the revenue is.
Anything for, any other questions or comments for Kate? Sir? Thank you, Kate. Oh, no.
I'm just gonna talk to you about.
Yeah.
I already mentioned.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Well, no,
great. Thank you, Kate. Thanks. So, there's a few things I wanted to make sure that we covered tonight, so that I also have time to, I'll have to prepare our preliminary budget over the weekend and get it to you guys Sunday night, so that going into Monday, any changes we make will be done through resolution when we schedule the hearing for that. So number one, I didn't factor this in your backup. There is a life insurance proposal. This was mentioned by our insurance broker as a benefit that we could offer employees for really low cost. So, we do not offer this. So this is just the town offering to full-time employees a small policy. So it would be $25,000 that we're paying for. So that's how it's set up, that it's not an opt-in plan. So it would cost us $1,936.80 for the whole year to give that benefit to all of our full-time employees.
Do they have the option to buy up?
Yes, they do. But I think there's a minimum of 5, and so that's included, and that's,
Minimum of 5 to have the voluntary.
yeah, let me see. It's in here. Oh, greater of 30% or 10. So for us,
Okay.
so for that, we would need to keep an eye on
Greater.
the interest.
That's the greater.
Yeah, so we do have another life insurance policy that's an opt-in that we offer. So I haven't compared the two, but it doesn't cost the town anything. It's a voluntary deduction at the cost of the employee. But I thought just this is a nice thing that could, it could just help in a bad situation.
I think it's a great,
Yeah.
And it's nothing, it doesn't cost anything.
it's, yeah, we're talking about that, so. Dying is also not cheap,
Yes,
and having that might be preferable. There were a couple things I noticed that I actually put a comment version in the share. That we should just clarify. Like, for the death benefit. If you're terminal, right, is there a time period? 6 months, 12 months. Who decides that? Is it the doctor? Is the insurance company weighing in on that? Similar with being permanently disabled. Is that like you get a note from your doctor, or do they have to assess people? We could ask them to take out the tiering, the age-based tiering. It might make the premium go up a lot, but like where you have reductions at 65, 70, 75, and 80. I think we're allowed to. We can go back to them and just say we want it flat. And the premium might go up a little, but if it's based off of population, we don't know how many people. I think it'll go up a lot.
And. Lower use time.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everyone's auto enroll.
yeah, I think it's such a low amount. I feel like,
I mean, I think it's a great benefit to offer to our employees and cost us. Like that,
Yeah. I agree.
what was the cost? I'm sorry.
It's like 1900.
for the whole year, for
everyone.
28,
For all employees,
for all full-time.
for all full-time,
Yeah.
non-highway.
No, it's for highway too.
Highway too.
28. Yeah, I think it's good.
Okay. And they can have additional, you can have other plans that cover other things, and yeah, this is just, I checked that. This is just something we're giving to the employees. All right. The next thing, you guys want to talk about the schedule of salaries for elected officials? And then I wanted to talk about also the wage for everyone, but the schedule of salaries for elected officials is the one with the seal on it. So this we have to have as its own document in the budget, and then also posted. It goes in the notice of the public hearing as well. And I also, did I put those in there? So I can tell you, I get the wage schedule is weird because I did like a 4% increase, whereas this is not necessarily, so I can pull up this year's numbers. I can tell you what this year's numbers are. For the town board members, town justice, those are a 4% increase and then divided by the number of months, and then make sure that it's an even amount. And so what do you guys think about those stipends? This year's is 8,100. Previous year was 75 for board members. And then justices this year was 1,900 or 19,000. Even, which was a mistake, but I didn't divide that by 12 when I made the budget. So there was like, we had to pay like a $4 difference all over the checks.
And I think the supervisor and clerk should be the same as superintendent of highways. I think they're low for the job. The amount of work. Both of you put in with the position required.
Could you speak up a little bit like that?
Yeah, I'm saying, I think the supervisor and town clerk salary should match superintendent of highways, so all 3 elected officials could have the same salaries.
Well, speaking for myself, I also get a stipend for the budget officer. So to me, like I'm personally, I'm totally fine with it because I have that additional income.
What is the increase for the supervisor?
The increase for those, it's more than 4%. So for me, it's actually quite a bit from the supervisor role, sorry. The salary for the supervisor for this year was $57,564. And then for the town clerk, it was, or it is $58,052. And then the highway superintendent was 69. It was $69,638. Those were the 2025 numbers.
I mean, I hear what you're saying in terms of the stipends, and we can have a discussion about whether or not to add additional stipends, but neither of those positions are 40-hour-a-week positions. They're both 50, 60 hours at times. And I don't see why there's the gap there is between the highway superintendent and clerk supervisor. I don't know, you guys.
I'm in agreement with Michael. I think equally, all three of those departments have an equal amount of employees' work, responsibility to juggle for the operation of the town. I also agree that none of those jobs are 40-hour-a-week jobs. They're on-call jobs. There's something wrong with those departments. Those are the people that get called in off of the street in the middle of the night and get woken up and pulled away from their families. So they should be compensated as such. And if we want to make sure that there are people who are willing to we luckily have some at this table, some great elected officials willing to step up to the plate and do those jobs, but if we want to make sure we continue to have people who are qualified and have the experience to do these positions, we need to also have someone, I know we're a municipality, we're not going to be up to fair market value on most positions, but we need to be as close as we can for those, and I think that you're not wrong that they should be like we made a pay wage scale, pay wage scale, and tiering for the employees to make sure that we were going about all of those increases in a fair way through, and we ranked based off of, I would say that if we were going to rank the elected officials to do a wage scale, that supervisors, clerk, and highway superintendents would all be the same tier on our scale. Respectfully said, you know. So I'm in agreement with you, Michael. I definitely need to do some pondering. Looking at the numbers, can you give me what the highway superintendent was last year again?
Oh, yeah, it's in the general fund budget.
69,638.
Yes, 69,638.
Well,
That's on page 16 of the general.
Thank you, I knew, I was like, I know it's not in highway.
and we want to look at, well, so budget officer to me is an additional duty. Could have somebody else performing that duty. It doesn't have to be a supervisor. If we want to look at adjusting that stipend and then making the salary more reflective of jobs, we can do that as well. But I think there's currently a misalignment in terms of this position.
So do you guys, are you saying, you said you want to think about it, do you want to come back like tomorrow?
Yeah,
We can still.
Can I overnight
can
it? So I
still
can,
do
like,
that.
go back
It's
to
just
the
really
numbers
important
and
that-
just-
just so you know, once we set the preliminary budget, you can't raise anything in these numbers. This isn't the same for everything else, but in these numbers here, if it's printed, you can't do anything higher. You can always go lower. So, I just wanted you guys to know that's the one thing that we have a rule about when we're adopting the final budget from the preliminary budget. So just an important thing for everyone for us to put a lot of thought into. Next, we have our wage schedule. So that's the green piece of paper. Just what I basically, I looked at like inflation rates. Last year we did like a 5 to 6% increase, I think, across the board. I was looking at what other towns are doing, and I was looking at what inflation rates were. So, and our highway employees are they have a 3% increase in the collective bargaining agreement. So I went with 4. And in some cases, like I had to do some rounding a little bit, so there's a little wiggle room. The increase by flat 4% is in the column 10. And then what I put in the tentative budget is in column 11. So I guess first I wanted to see about just the 4%. Or if you guys want to go tier by tier, and we can kind of talk about what those tiers are and why the positions are in those tiers and whether we think we need to change anything.
I don't think we should go tier by tier. For basing on, our increase, that's for inflation and for cost of living increase, it should be. Same number across the board for all of our employees, regardless of pay scale that they get, salary.
Question I had, what room do we have for merit-based, or performance-based increases in division?
The town currently does not do merit or performance-based increases. There's a lot of, we could do that, but we don't have a policy that covers it. So right now, what our practice has been, because there was for a while a kind of random, like someone would negotiate pay, and then so we created this system. I have now, there are, in terms of municipal and civil service, there is a lot of guidance that we should not do merit-based pay, but I feel like as long as we did it like thoughtfully, we had a set policy, and we did had a practice of doing biannual reviews and things like that we could implement that. But we have not, the town has not had a practice of doing annual reviews even since
Probably 2005 or 6. That's less than that, isn't it?
yeah. So there's just, we need to get
I mean, employee review?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think it's happened since stupid administration.
So,
So the question is, if we do implement an annual performance review process, and if individuals who are deserving of a merit or performance-based increase, are we limited by adopting the schedule in being able to provide that next year?
so this is a addendum currently. We adopt the pay scale at the organizational meeting.
Okay.
And then the way pay works is it's town board resolution, so we can amend.
So it's not like the 11th where.
Correct, yeah. This, the other thing I've been doing, and I need to go through because I wasn't consistent, I've been padding labor lines because the former budgets were always exactly, like if you work 35 hours a week and this was your pay, it was exactly to the dollar. But that's not how it works. We have people that sometimes will work 38 hours a week and they should get paid for those 3 hours. So I've been kind of going through and putting in if there's a little bit, our highway department and our maintenance worker get overtime budgeted into their hours, but no other employee has ever had anything extra. So I will be I've patted a few of them already, the ones I know for a fact we need more.
I'm okay with the 4%. Based on cost of living, which is by substantially more than that. But I would like us to consider re-implementing a annual review process.
Yeah.
Which as soon as possible.
Agree. I mean, I agree that we also should have a merit base and a
Yeah.
performance review system. I've said that since I this budget season when this didn't even exist for our employees and scale, so this is movement, so thank you. But I am also fine with the 4%. That being said, I'm also comfortable if it gets down to it and we are having a very hard time cutting things. I am comfortable making it 3% because it's the same as highways collective bargaining percentage. And that's like the standards I've seen across like the state and other industries. For raises proposed for next year so far, there's 3. I obviously want to give our employees, I value our employees and all of our workers in the town and would want to give them 6 like last year if we could. But I do also know our government is also going to be hit with some of the effects of potential recession. There's already government funding that's no longer available and projects that could be all on our lap. We need a new town hall. There's a lot of things going on in our general fund. Had gotten depleted once or like has already started to lose its balance. So I love all of our employees, but if that's, to me, that's an easier across the board decision to make than trying to make a decision to actually buy like one department a vehicle or not, because that vehicle is actually needed for the operations of the town, you know what I mean? Like it's a hard one to balance, so I'm happy to leave the 4 in there for now, but know that I might come back and say maybe we should drop it to 3. I also want to know what that number is. I'll do that math myself for like the difference between the two for like the whole year of 3% versus 4%, but I
Right,
can run
yeah.
that math myself
Yeah.
on it. Cause if it's
If you're
like,
doing that now, you'll be 3.5 too.
yeah, I got you. Ooh, okay, yeah.
So the one thing I wanted to point out is I dropped tier 1. So we had a tier 1. And we had like 2 classes of employees in tier 1. And so the board, you guys can override this, but I just put every 1 and 2, I just combined. So that except for our seasonal employees, that the wage for our tier 2 employees is, that's our kind of our starting wage. Our seasonal rec workers have a lower wage than that. That's $17.75 for them. And then
Just want to point out regarding the difference in the 4% and 3%. People covered under the collective bargaining agreement are starting off with a significantly
Oh,
higher
yes, absolutely.
rate. And regarding my comments earlier about the clerk and supervisor, a new employee working for the highway department is making about as much as those 2 positions. So
I know, I don't disagree. I honestly think that our wage scales are lower. did an adjustment last year. I'm just worried longevity wise, thinking of funding our retiree insurance keeps going up and fund and percentages. So longevity wise, I wanna be able to give our employees cost of living raises every year. So if we make it 3% this year, to make sure that next year we also give them what the average for like nationally is too, instead of having to cut it because we've had unexpected other funds cut. That don't have to do with employment or insurance, you know what I mean, like our funding from federal government wise or something. That's where I'm at with it, where I want to give them all it, but it's an easy number to. Equally and evenly like kind of pull out of the budget to me, to if we get down to like nitty gritty numbers. And thinking in longevity terms,
But
but I want to make sure.
there's also some slack in these numbers because just attrition and sort of delaying. Or delays related to the hiring or.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, but I mean like,
Some.
you know,
Yeah, no,
hypothetical full year.
no, it's
of
like,
each of-
because everything, your entire forecast structure is based on. These are based on pension accruals and. Unemployment insurance and every other.
we did this once, I remember. I think we'll be surprised at what a low dollar value it is.
Yeah, I feel like that's what happened.
But I can prepare like a chart that we can just plug some, you know, I can just plug in different percentages and see the overall impact on the budget. But we did this one year and it was, there's, you know, I've actually been doing it too, where I'm like, oh, should it be this or this? And then I added up, I'm like, oh, that's like $400 for this person. It's like,
And to me, I'm looking at the dollar amount and like hourly, almost everyone, except for like in like the super like lower tiers. Like once you get to tier 4 off at level, it's the dollar raise, which to me like. I don't know, I'm gonna sound like the oldest person at this table, but back in my day, you got 10, 15, or 25 cent raises every 6 months. So that's 50 cents maximum in a year based on performance, like these are based off the actual like increases,
Yeah,
like.
the big man.
I know, I worked at McDonald's, that's how much, I got started at $6.90 an hour and didn't make $7 for 6 months.
I started working for the town for $4.75.
There we go, see? I didn't have working. Okay. But-
Zolly and I have you all beat.
But yeah, like it's like those things that I'm thinking that I'm like, yes, like that inflation things are different from what I'm seeing, like. Last year, some of these positions got $5 increases. And now they're going and getting like another $1 to $3 the year after that an hour, like that is where the hourly scale is what's not looking correct to me.
Calibration to bring them up to.
It was partially last year, yes, yeah.
Like
absolutely.
wages.
Yes, yeah, last year's was with a market. Adjustment included it with a cost of living increase, which is why it's such a high percentage. But yeah, that's what, I told.
Let's see what the numbers are.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we can see what the number is. I know that we did the same thing with like 6 or 8 last year and we're trying to figure it out. But that's where it made me question it, was looking at the actual hourly wage differences that I was like, this seems like. In some of the cases, not obviously not everyone, it's typically more of the other ends, but like I said, but. I'll get the number, I'll find it for us for tomorrow, actually numbers.
I mean, I personally like feel like $1 an hour is like what we should be giving. You know, like, I mean, I guess it depends on the wage, obviously,
About 3 firms.
but
Let's start.
yeah, so. When you get up into the higher wages, maybe like,
I mean,
but
that's $32 a week, which is.
Yeah, but it's also why, to me, that's why we had to do such a large market adjustment, is because. Those randomized pay increases that we gave to different employees throughout the years, based on whatever it was based on for our list. It changed to like, we had employees that were working here for 15 years that were making less than the starting worker. Because of these wage increases, and I just don't want us to have that happen again either from. Going in certain percentage wage.
I mean, I think that if once, you have the tiering process in place, and once you have the schedule like this, it shows. by job function, what those different wage ranges are, the chances that you have that huge discrepancy between a starting employee and a 15-year veteran.
It was also down to skill though, our constables who carry firearms and are licensed to own and carry firearms were making less than our camp counselors until last year. Which says a lot, the safety of our town was getting paid less than, of the entire town was getting less than the people who were in charge of safety of only church. You know, so it's, those are the things that I, back in my mind that I'm thinking of. I'm happy to leave the 4, like I said, I wanna leave the 4, I think all of our employees deserve more, it has nothing to do with. Our employees' work, their output or anything like that, it's me just trying to be cautious that those things don't happen again and that we also continue to give them raises. Every year, because writing on the wall, I mean, I was a child in 2008 when the housing market crashed, but everything is. History is repeating itself now with a lot of trends, so that affected this area very heavily and especially the taxpayers, so I don't want to have to, I want our employees who are also residents to be able to still live in the area if anything bad happens. And have a wage from us that's livable, but I also want the taxpayers to be able to afford those pays consistently also. So that was all.
So we'll do a comparison, now I'm gonna try to have that by tomorrow's meeting, cause it's not something that's gonna be easy for me to change on Monday. Now, we can obviously change stuff, we could leave something in our budget and change it after the preliminary. We can also have another budget meeting in between the public hearing. In between now and the public hearing, and keep working on stuff, we just can't call it the preliminary budget. The preliminary budget will be whatever we vote on Monday. So let's talk about revenue. So that's page 1. All right, so I guess I wanted to get like a feel, I've done a lot of like general conversations about like where we're at in terms of our financial situation. Now, if like, I don't want to leave the general fund budget as is, what I'm showing is what our tax levy is without any loans or use of fund balance. But it's like double what our tax levy last year was, so I don't think that we can do that. But what I wanted to talk to the board about is if it's looking like we'll have about $1 million in fund balance for general fund at the end of the year, maybe.
This year.
Yeah, so our recommended level is 900,000. That's 3 months worth of expenditures. So I guess the question is, how do you want to use some of our fund balance? Do we want to cut into that level to help ease? We're not going to be able to cut. There are some ideas that I have, but we're not going to be able to cut so much out of the budget that.
Do you have an estimate of what the gain is on the numerator of total property through the rebalance will be?
No, I don't. I don't have any sense of that right now. You're thinking,
How much is the reval gonna capture of that?
Yeah.
Increase in levy?
we can talk to Jeremy about that tomorrow morning. I think with the number of improvements that people have
Okay.
not registered, that there is a significant amount of people that are not paying their fair share of taxes right now.
My general inkling is, or the challenge is to balance, what the taxpayers have to make up versus saving our savings for what could be a much rainier day later towards the end of next year. Beyond. I wouldn't want to dig into our fund balances very significantly. Without a clear picture of what the forward. What it looks like.
The levy for this tax season though is set. So we don't like the. Whatever we, whatever, that would just impact us for next, that would be our 2027 budget cycle. And like also just for context, the overall budget itself, I mean, there are places that I think we could make some sacrifices, but it's not a huge increase. The budget itself is not a huge increase.
In general.
Right. It's like
So
a,
when people are paying their tax bills, they don't differentiate between general fund and.
yeah, it's true. So it's the budget increase is 5%. The tax increase in the tentative budget is 100.
And revenue.
So we have been funding the town with fund balance for, I don't know, the past 5 years as a revenue stream for operating expenses. So
How much goes into fund balance around the end of each year?
well, right now we're depleting fund balance. So it was 1.8 million and now we're down to 1. So we're not adding anything. You can only add to fund balance if you're not spending money, which is a really bad financial decision to not spend your budget, which is actually what we've been doing for the past few years, but.
But we are not expending our budget.
We haven't been, we are now, like,
Yeah, but we also have a lot of catch up to do or deferred maintenance.
yeah,
Things falling apart.
Yeah.
Which is just gonna exacerbate the lack of discipline last time.
yeah, like we had, one year we had $75,000 for like maintenance and repairs that we hardly even touched. Like we could have, but instead that just like went into fund balance. So this year I was, I think I do have a ban to help cover. Another thing that happened that like now I know, but the reval should have been a capital expenditure, but it was included.
So.
So that kind of hurts us in a way.
How much was that? That was 250?
For 450 over 3 years. So this year it was 198 and next year it's half of that. So I do have a band to help kind of extend that because that's how we would have done it if it was a capital expenditure. We just would have seen it in a totally different way.
There's a ban.
I haven't budgeted. I don't need to take it out probably until the end of December.
How much did you budget?
250. And though I think we could probably get away with doing a little bit less on that. The other place, like one of the big expenses that I added was vehicles. So I think we do need to purchase vehicles. We cut them, we budget for them every year, and then we don't buy them every year. That's another fund balance. We've built up fund balance to this vehicle line. But vehicles are something we can
Yeah,
finance
those
pretty
again, those
easily.
are capital expenditures that you can, they have no estimated useful life longer than a finance.
Yes, so that's one that we could, I think, plan to have 1/5 of that amount here and then finance. Which is not reflected. Right now, it's just reflected as a flat number.
You would not put the ban in here yet? You don't have the ban in there yet?
There's no ban in this budget. We have a ban budgeted in 2025
Right.
to cover. That was what we did last year is we budgeted 300,000 fund balance, which we're probably gonna need unless there's a miracle revenue windfall that comes in from sales tax or mortgage.
Have we gotten any of our, entrance fees in?
Those come in right at the
Right in,
end.
right, okay.
and they're pretty
That's right.
predictable.
Gas is every-
Yeah, those come in right at the end and they're predictable. They've been pretty predictable.
So the 250,000 ban, you're saying was 20 this year?
Yep, there's no, so that's the other thing we could do, but obviously it's not super smart in terms of covering operating expenditures, but
Or maybe it's legal,
what,
use the ban for that.
for what?
for operating expenses.
I mean, you can use, I was gonna say we can try to we could figure out what we think is not operating, and we could spread that out, but, it's the vehicles. It's mostly just vehicles.
Well, it's still, does this include 2 trucks or 1 truck for 250?
Are you talking about the
This
highway
is
fund?
general fund.
Oh,
Well, yeah, that's a highway fund.
but totality in terms of the tax levy.
I'm not talking about the totality right now.
What departments are requesting vehicles? General fund?
So, and we're gonna have these conversations tomorrow. The code enforcement office. We need to replace our maintenance truck. I've been told it might not make it till the end of the year. Then we've been talking about, a car that could be shared. So for assessor, a second building, clerks, like anyone that we would have like a. So that's the 3, and then we had the constables had requested another vehicle this past year, which we didn't do. So that's what I was calling for. So I think we have wiggle room in that line, but it's also only $100,000. We're not gonna find $800,000.
That's also. The capital expenditure.
Exactly.
For the operating bond.
Well,
Well, you have the debt service and you have the.
Right.
amortization.
yeah, in highway and general, we've done vehicle purchases in the normal budget. So regardless of whether it's in capital or here, it's still part of the tax levy. Right now, I don't have a capital fund budget at all. I mean, I just don't know, the general fund tax levy is not sustainable. What it's been at is not sustainable. I just don't know how to get it up to a level, like we can't keep using $500,000 at fund balance. No. And highway fund hardly has any fund balance at all, so it's not like we have 2 healthy fund balances, in which case I might be willing to, go a little bit farther with that, but.
At least 150 grand in personnel.
There's just not a lot of places we can cut.
I know. I know. We're kind of on the edge of a cliff. I mean, we have some new, it's the vehicles and we have, 2 new positions. And I had one, I thought I had another one.
Hold up on the accessory.
I was gonna say, we added the accessory check in this year.
Well, that, we can have that,
Board of this,
yeah, we can have that conversation tomorrow morning.
yeah, we can have that tomorrow. What have we got with that? Personal. Well, I mean, I think.
Also, I didn't put contingency in this budget.
Yes, we did, we had 20,000.
No, not in this one,
Yes, we did, Aaron, I'm looking at it in the budget.
not in the 2026 budget.
Oh. Oh, I see, I thought you meant this year's one, Sure. Since I have some monthly time on this. I think I've been saying this since I started, that. Our actual supply purchasing. And the vendors that we're using, like kind of across the board, very heavily in highway, but general fund departments also, and it's not. Anyone's fault, that those departments are just operating on what they've known and have had before them for ordering and where to get certain things from and like procedure for it, but. Like. When I'm signing the bills and seeing that we're ordering our paper towels from Staples. When we have a Sam's Club account that comes with free delivery or free shipping and they're half the cost there. Like I am happy and would like to do an audit of our supply vendors and things like that for us to see. 'Cause it's like seeing the rec department, seeing how certain departments are going. Both to Kingston to go get things in the same week, things like that, like if we had a simple policy of like. Do your shopping on Friday so that everyone knows, like things like that, it could save us a lot of money in the long run on mileage, on hours. Et cetera, et cetera. Same with our actual like paper supplies and like this actual like. Each department shouldn't be ordering 1 box of Staples, we should be ordering 1 bulk box of 10 boxes of Staples. You know what I mean, like little things like that add up a lot, so I would be very happy to do an audit and then try get us the best prices for the vendors that are in our. Wheelhouse so far, like make us a list of where to order each thing that's the cheapest. In such case for our employees.
So multiple departments order supplies? Like office supplies?
At least, well, I'm seeing, at least from how, I don't think, not departments per se, but like I'm seeing invoicing, like I know most of the purchasing goes through. Their office.
Yeah, it goes
But
all to
yeah,
my
Yeah,
office.
so
But. Like in the same month, I'm signing multiple invoices for like. Only 1 box of Scotch tape that's getting billed to planning for the secretary, and then in the next pile of vouchers, I'm getting another separate statement. Invoice that I'm seeing one on, like, it's little instances like that, but I do think very specifically with our cleaning supplies and like our paper goods supplies that there's. That we can have bought them internet economically. From someone who ran businesses, that's all that involved in, ways to make sure. And our, for profit. There's certain little things like that, like I'm also happy to come and take a look at, like. Our printing's one that seems tight, or our postage is one that, like, I know it's like the fees we're paying for the postage, but like. Why is the, why are the court clerks driving all the way out here? To use a postage machine?
Not.
Where they're not?
Their own
They have their own now, okay, yeah. Okay, that makes more sense, but
Calls for some book of stamps.
But like certain things like that, like there's also,
Which they shouldn't use stamps because we actually have a discount price.
No, I know.
Those. Oh, okay.
That's what I'm for.
What's the
also
professional
Medicare.
services under? Actually, knows.
That's for planning. But I have a grant. That's a net zero line, because I'm wanting to do that with grant funding, so I have a. There's, I've identified some grant sources, I don't know if we're gonna get them, but that planning work I'm hoping would get funded, so it's not,
Revenue.
there's no. Impact on the budget to the, with those funds.
Is it Cahoon since we work?
well, not right now.
I don't know, but I think they're doing it.
It was open issue. No, it was open.
Yeah, but I thought they were doing change it around each.
I thought that.
So, see where else you need tonight?
Well, so I think,
Yeah, I was gonna say anything else.
yeah, I guess
Maybe they didn't do it.
I haven't heard any changes at all. I think the other, I guess it's the vehicle and then the building. Attorney line. I thought we could look at that. So that's page 9.
See, that can get cut so quickly if our residents. Because we didn't fix them.
So I did not really increase that much. And I don't know if that was wise or not. The only real increase I did. Yeah, I kind of kept it flat. So I don't know what you guys think.
And the planning board there is our fees, not. Like, that's just the town, not escrow.
Yep. I mean, so I guess you guys are gonna, this is your budget, like when I do the tentative, but this is the board budget, so I guess. I'm looking for whether or not you want there to be changes in the preliminary budget. So we kind of have to know this before the weekend so that I can prep. So there's the attorney lines that, like I'm saying, I kept flat, which
Yeah, I think that we can cut down town board at least by 5,000. Probably.
I'm actually gonna need that though. For the supervisor, I'm gonna be moving money from town board to supervisor,
Just tell us that.
huh?
You're just telling us that.
Well, I'm watching my rate. And, but I also haven't gotten. The invoices are about a month, so what you're seeing would be. There's like a month delay. Beyond some of our other budget lines.
I think we can cut CBA by 550. No.
I don't think so. Say, would imagine.
In 3/4 of the year, they use less than 70% of it. Their budget. We definitely can cut the town both ones down to 1,000.
What are the two new positions, the assessor and what? Are you counting Kate's?
There's 1 to 3, and then
That's the part-time.
thought I added another one. I think I have another one in the buildings. Let me see. Is it just those? Maybe it's just those 2. I thought I added one.
Well, we can talk about it tomorrow, but I think that position needs to be.
I agree.
Okay. But no, you don't have any thoughts about the attorney line? You just want them to as is?
I don't think we should increase them. I think we have to live within what we budget for.
I just don't think we should Let the material, because we're gonna
Yeah, no, I
see a lot of stuff coming up bike.
Yeah,
agree.
yes, we've got, it's all gonna hit us next year too.
There's not a lot of places to cut.
I know. Then the next one I wanted to look at was yeah, the burnt barrel idea, right? I know, and also I'm like, I don't want my salary to go up. So the buildings line, which is on page 11. All of this, is based on like expenses, so, you know, our supplies and materials are mostly a shared budget. Then electric, propane, fuel oil, this is just based on usage. The only one that's not is this professional services line. And this is where we do our like building repair from. So
Building repair or assessment?
building repair, so like the buildings, professional services line is if I have to hire a contractor to do something. So I'm trying to spend the $25,000 that's left on the court. Because there are some major
Safety issues.
repairs that need to be made there. I cannot find anyone who is willing to do this, so just putting it out there, we need a general contractor. I left that the same. But I guess just flagging it because, it's just the pool of money I have to work with to do like normal sort of building repair and maintenance.
Like for the courthouse repair, because those have to be done by a certain type of stainless.
Like,
Electric.
No, it's Public Works project.
Could you hire a seasonal contractor, like a
I've been
construction contract?
I've been thinking about it, like take that $35,000,
Yeah.
yeah, I've been, or like if we hired someone who could do that work.
Or apply for the building,
Um,
position, but we got it last year, so I think we hired that.
slowly, 5 seconds.
I have thought about that, though, we wouldn't wanna zero that out, but if we could hire someone that could. There'd still be supply and materials cost, you know, it wouldn't be, there would still be a cost to the town. But I have thought about that. I mean, there's no fat. There's no. There might be like. You know, you could get us to a very low BMI on this. Thanks, Mary Lou.
I was laughing inside.
Took me a minute.
Took me a second, Erin.
Yes. But,
That budget mass index.
yeah. Yeah, it's the vehicles, and then the only thing is if we start cutting into benefits, if we start cutting into wages, if we start cutting into, services that we're offering, I mean, that's. If we cut, like, there's some places we could say like, oh yeah, we don't wanna. Do our community services payments, I don't know what impact that would have, but. There's just, the place where we're at with this budget is. It's either we like stop doing things.
Well, this is a direct result of using the fund balance to cover operations.
And not raising taxes and lowering
For the
Which-
16 years.
Which sense.
like if we had been, I wonder where we would be at in terms of our tax levy if we had just raised 2% every year. Like you should. It might look like this number, you know. I think we'll be able to use a little bit of fund balance. I think we could finance the vehicles. I think we can trim, but I think the trimming, you know, is not,
Trimming in the end, reading fine, $10,000.
that's what I was gonna say. I don't think we're gonna find anything more than $25,000 by trimming. So it sounds like you guys think I should leave that 35,000 as is. There was one more line I wanted to bring up. It's a shared line. Attorney. Like all of our central communication, central data processing, like. It's all just, it's that, those things are flat.
Those are based on actual costs.
Yep, and they're not really going up that much.
What do we get for the pool?
Huh?
What do we get for the pool?
What do we get for the pool?
Yeah, what is that
Um,
contribution there
usage of the pool?
for Rochester resident?
Mhm.
How many people use it?
I don't know. For the library, I have those numbers, but I don't.
I don't know if we still have an active swim team, but the swim team for the
The
town of
Bear-
Rochester used to use it. And Warsaw uses Ellenville, so I don't know if they're still a swim team.
We just increased it by 10,000 last year.
The
Because
year
they were
before.
doing repairs.
Now
It was
it's
20, it was 20 for a long time. And now it's 30.
Wow. Wonder what they budgeted for. Wonder what they budget
What do you mean?
for Washington.
How much the pool costs them, you mean? So tomorrow, we are going to talk about, we're gonna do assessor, transfer station, which I've met with transfer station staff a few times, so I'll be the department head rep for that. We're meeting with the code enforcement office. The meat of their budget is actually in the revenue side, so we'll be talking a lot about revenue with them. And then at the end, depending on what time it is and how energized the board is feeling, I kind of put a grouping of miscellaneous things at the end. I did invite Chair Jones to join us to talk about the planning board stuff at the end of our meeting. So I had put my office, dog control, and planning and zoning at the end, just as a kind of, there's not a lot in those, so I think those discussions should go pretty quickly. And so that should get us through the majority of everything. The only thing left is to review the stipends for boards and commissions, which we give to a few of them as a budget, an operating budget. I did increase stipends for planning board members, so that's another thing that maybe we should look at. And the other, and the court. I have not heard anything from the court. I've sent out a few emails about the budget. They might, I had offered Monday morning, so there's a chance they'll join us Monday morning. I just haven't gotten any, I have not heard anything. From them. I've gotten like some, like, requests as in we would like this to happen, but I haven't gotten any numbers or anything. So, if not, we will just review the court budget as a board and see if there's anything we want to change. But again, that one, there's nothing in that is extra, really.
And
Parking fine.
Gotta set up that bureau.
we're paying 140K for this
Left there.
facility solid waste.
That's
Three different
MSW,
towns, but
municipal,
My old files.
that's
I got
the
one,
trash haul.
Which town?
Right.
City of New York.
The different.
Yep.
Piece.
Maybe we could raise those fees,
How many thousand?
raise some of those fees.
We just did, and we just ordered punch cards. We just raised them. Okay, so we're back at it, to it, executive,
Motion to enter executive session at 9:14 PM for the purposes that were on the.
Second.
second?
Can you add Ridgeview on there? I don't think
Oh,
we
yeah,
said
and
that.
five review for litigation. I'll give you, I made a minute.
And what Mary Lou's.
Did we have a second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries.
Something from the hall, right? I love that.
Hang on, we're still.
Yeah, we are streaming though.
Are you gonna, I was gonna say, we are streaming.
Hold on one second. I'm gonna not.
How do I stop this?